Hello, everyone. I'm James. I'm a paleobiology student at the University of Bristol, and I'm also a contributor for the Jurassic Park podcast and the Missing Compies podcast. And today I'm joined by a very special guest. You'll know him from the film Hot Tub Time Machine. He's also done the motion capture and sword fight for Star Wars Battlefront, which came out in 2015. And of course, you'll know him majorly from Jurassic World. He played Leon the pig handler in the Raptor paddock, and that is Mr. Colby Boothman. Thank you for
Yeah,
coming
thanks for
on,
having me.
Colby.
Obviously, I'm very recognizable if they're seeing any of the video with my mask and
Yeah,
hat on.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's not ideal, is
Uh,
it, at the moment with COVID?
no,
It's
it is
quite
what it is.
crazy. It is, yeah. So first of all, yeah, I'd just like a little bit of background, really. I mean, what made you want to sort of go into acting?
I was in New Orleans. I had just graduated high school, and at the time, New Orleans was like the film capital of the world. And my dad was doing extra work on movies, and as soon as like I turned 18, I was like, yeah, I want to do that. That's cool. Just throw me on any set wherever you want. And the first thing that I worked on was Green Lantern, and it was my first day on set. And our director for that project was Martin Campbell.
Right.
He just kind of saw me running in a scene, and he just liked my hair and movement. He introduced me quickly to the stunt coordinator because they wanted to just put me up closer to camera.
Yeah.
There was this massive camera that they had on a cable going from rooftop of one of the skyscrapers downtown down to, it swoops down to ground level, which is about, you know, moving at about 60 miles an hour. So it's going
That's
very
quite
quick.
crazy. Yeah.
And you can't put normal people near a camera traveling that quickly. So they have to kind of choreograph everything. But they wanted, me to be close to camera during that shot. And that was, basically the start of it all was like my first day on set turned into basically doing stunts on Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And so my introduction to the film industry was through the stunt world. And that's a bit unusual that I figured out many years later that doesn't normally happen. Then I was like this 18-year-old kid just working on a $200 million movie like, oh yeah, this is normal.
Yeah.
I guess this is what everybody does when they try to work in movies. No, I was very fortunate, and I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't do stunt work for too long. I quickly got into acting and enjoyed it, and started auditioning for roles, and casting directors would bring me in. I signed with an agent and started reading for projects around the country, around the world, and was very fortunate to have worked on stuff like Hot Tub Time Machine, The Town That Dreaded Sundown, some really cool projects very early on, small roles, but you kind of just, you start somewhere and you keep building up your credits and roles, and casting directors start to take notice of your look and your abilities. And I got called in for Jurassic World. And I was living in Florida at the time, so I put it on tape. And expecting not to hear anything. Like, that was one of 3 auditions I had to put on tape that day. Just one of them happened to be Jurassic World. We had the dummy side, so they're not actually the script. The working title was Ebb Tide. So even the auditions came under the title of Ebb Tide. It had nothing to do with dinosaurs. Like,
Right.
Most people who read for it didn't know what they were reading for. I had the fortune of having good agents, and did know that what I was reading for was Jurassic World. So you could read into the context on the dummy sides,
Yeah.
It was safe to assume that the cow that knocked me over was not actually a cow.
Yeah.
And and that the rancher that pulled me out of there was not actually a rancher. So a lot for big productions like Jurassic World and Avatar. Well, actually, some movies they will actually tell you what it is, but things like I know for the Han Solo film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
Solo,
one.
yeah.
The working title for that was Red Cup.
Right.
And like the sides for that were like a guy in an office chatting to a coworker. Like that was what they sent out auditions for that film. But most major films, a lot of times you'll get sent to dummy side, and people who are read into it know what they're reading for, and a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So it's pretty fascinating to know that like there's, and for productions like this, they audition thousands of people for these roles. So I was super fortunate that Colin Trevorrow and the team behind Jurassic World had the faith to give me that role.
Yeah, I mean, that's really fantastic. I mean, I was just sort of thinking, obviously, the fact that you had that stunt background to start off with, was that part of the reason why in Jurassic World it did feature that sort of major stunt of you falling
Not
off
at all.
the
Honestly,
way?
my acting resume has no stunt work on it,
Right.
really at all. You could, I guess, say that what I did for Star Wars Battlefront, stuff like that would be technically stunt work, but it's not something that goes into consideration because they hire stunt people to do all this. For Jurassic World, I had a stunt double, Patrick Steinberg, who did an incredible job with the high fall. Those are always very dangerous stunts, and I'm super grateful to be able to have a stunt double that understands the character work that goes into acting.
Yeah.
Because your stunt doubles, they represent you, and so it's really important to have stunt people that that you can collaborate with. You can show them how you move and what you would do if you were doing the stunt yourself. And it's nice to be able to have those conversations with somebody who takes to collaborating to help make the character what it is. Because I've had some stunt doubles on projects in the past without naming them, and the stunt person didn't really understand the character work, and
Right.
resulted in less than impeccable acting
Yeah.
on essentially my behalf, and so
Right.
I wasn't too happy with some stunt people that I've had to work with in the past. And with Jurassic World, Patrick was fantastic, so I can certainly recommend to him to anybody who needs a good stunt person.
That's fantastic. I was just sort of thinking, obviously, with Jurassic being so big, were you always a fan of Jurassic? Sort of, growing up, was Jurassic Park sort of a really big part of your life?
Yeah, it was. It's one of the big franchises, obviously. But it was one that I always loved growing up. So I was anticipating that film far in advance of it ever coming out. As just reading for it was pretty cool. And when I read it, I was like, oh, that's cool. That's really great that they thought to have me read for this. That's cool. I'll never get that, but
Yeah.
it was cool to read for it. And I just completely put it out of mind for the couple months until my agent just sent me a text like checking availability for Jurassic World on these dates, and that basically means like you've gone to the producers. Now you just have to be approved by the producers, which in this case is none other.
Yeah, I mean, I was just sort of thinking in terms of Jurassic's, the impact Jurassic has had. A lot of their memories as well go back further, and I was just sort of wondering what your earliest memory of sort of dinosaurs in media has been, really.
Yeah, I first saw Jurassic Park. I think I was 6 years old, and my parents decided to show it to me, and I was still way too young to see it then. Obviously, it was a great film. I had nightmares for a week, but
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. Just in terms of storytelling and filmmaking and characters. It's just a masterpiece. There's no
yeah,
other film like it. There's really one dinosaur film, and that's Jurassic Park, and nobody's even tried to make any others.
yeah. I mean, I think like for me personally, there were a lot of like animated dinosaur shows that I saw
Hmm.
pre-Jurassic. So like my first experience was like Fantasia, Disney's Fantasia, and there was like
Oh
a
yeah.
dinosaur sequence in that. And
Hmm.
ever since I was a
Land Before
child, yeah,
Time.
Land Before Time as well. And I sort of grew up around sort of Disney's Dinosaur as well. That came out in 2000. So back then, obviously, a lot of that came across during Jurassic's time from '93 up until 2003, 2001. Sorry, when we got Jurassic Park 3. Um, so has paleontology always sort of interested you as sort of a topic?
I mean, just history and science and everything is fascinating to me. It's something that captures my attention. I apologize if there's any of the
Oh
background
no,
noise.
don't worry
Get my
about it at all.
getting
Yeah, it's fine.
a car taken care of before the
Yeah.
road trip. Um, it's it's a fascinating subject, and what was really cool is while we were filming, Jack Horner has a cameo during the scene that I'm in.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He's up on the catwalks, and so for the weeks that we spent filming, we had Jack Horner with us, and it's hot days in Louisiana, and so we're just in like these cooling tents all day. It's usually me, uh, Chris Pratt, Omar Sy, Vincent D'Onofrio, Jack Horner, and Vanessa Weaver, who's also a paleontologist. Um, and so we would just talk about dinosaurs and just the history of our planet for ages. And Jack's knowledge goes far beyond just dinosaurs. Obviously, he's one of the leading paleontologists in the world, but
Yeah.
paleontology is at its core the study of rocks as well,
Yeah.
because that's what fossils essentially are. Um, so it's interesting to know like the changes of Earth and how continents have moved over time, and how dinosaurs themselves spread out over the world. How they're dinosaurs come from different parts of the world. At the time, he was doing, I think, some raptor work. If I'm not mistaken, the velociraptors are predominantly in Mongolia.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So he was spending a lot of time there.
Yeah, I know from what I know of Jack Horner, and I've interacted with him on Twitter a fair bit as well. Because like doing the paleobiology masters that I've been doing, we've obviously covered quite a lot. So, and my focus has been sort of duck-billed dinosaurs, and obviously Jack Horner's been really big with those, with looking at Myosaura in Egg Mountain, and especially looking at sort of the embryos of young juvenile hadrosaurids. You've
Of course,
actually
he's got
covered.
his Chickensaurus project.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah. He does. He's still working on that, as far as I know. You've actually covered a couple of things that I was wanted to bring up a bit later, which is fine. But in terms of obviously Jack Horner had such a big presence throughout all the Jurassic films, and obviously you were really lucky to spend some time with him on Jurassic World. I just wanted to get your thoughts really as to Stephen Brassati, who's the new paleontological advisor for Jurassic World Dominion, because Jack Horner played such a massive role, and I think it was quite a big shame when everyone heard that he wasn't coming back. And I just really wanted your thoughts as to like if you've heard of Stephen Brassati, who's the paleontologist at Edinburgh, and if you think like moving forward, how paleontology might be used moving forward in the new films.
I mean, it's there are a lot of theories about these dinosaurs. The jury is still out on a lot of the way that they looked and would move and interact, and whether they were, herd animals or not. So it does have an impact on the films, but I think that the continuity of Jurassic has kind of found its um, what the dinosaurs mean to the films. So obviously there's the truths of dinosaurs, and then there's the the world that is created for Jurassic, and at this point, they've created their own creatures, and I think that a lot of it comes down to the continuity of the films and continuing with the style that is kind of entranced cinema goers for decades now.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be interesting to see what they bring, and it's always exciting to have new takes on the world that we all know and love, especially with the events of the recent films. You know, now obviously the dinosaurs are more than contained, or less than
Yeah.
contained. Now they've
out in
escaped the
open.
island. Yeah. I think it'll be very interesting to see. I don't really know a lot of the plot details of the third Jurassic World film. I'm definitely excited for it. It's great to see that filming has been relatively smooth with everything going on. And I've got a project that I'll be filming in the UK, and we've had a lot of delays with that film. We had wanted to get it filmed by the end of the year, and that's not likely going to happen with another lockdown that recently happened in the UK. I think, I don't know whether that or not that'll affect Jurassic World's current filming, but it might prevent people from being able to travel in and out of the country.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's a very difficult time within I know everything anyway, but especially with filming is, you know, the stopping and starting. And obviously I know Dominion has had a few hiccups in terms of stopping and starting, but hopefully now that the film has been delayed, I'm looking forward to the fact that they've got the time now to fully flesh the film out and finish it. I was actually wondering, you know, you spoke about Jack Horner's sort of influence on the film. I was just sort of wondering, in terms of sort of you know, have you visited many museums, and if so, sort of, you know, which ones have sort of impacted you the most?
yeah, I think the earliest that I really remember seeing anything like that, I think it was in DC. I was on a work trip with my mom when I was about 7 years old, and we went to all the museums over there. So the Smithsonian and Air and Space, and I got to see a lot of what was there. And I think those are the first times that I really saw, dinosaur fossils in person, and they were fascinating. And more recent, when we released Jurassic World, we had the premiere in Los Angeles, and the next day, essentially a few hours later, after the premiere, I went and hopped on a flight to Montana,
Right.
where we had another event at the Museum of the Rockies, which Jack Horner was at the time, and they invited me out, and that was an incredible experience. One, because the fossil, the collections that they have there are incredible. I mean, you can. There's one room that they have in particular that you walk in, and it's just like every dinosaur you could that at least I could personally name.
Yeah.
Which isn't too many, but to be able to be around a massive collection of these huge creatures is really breathtaking. We also got a private tour of essentially the vault at the Museum of the Rockies, which is not public, and it's just basically these row after row of these, 15-foot or more stainless steel. I don't even know what to call them. It's like a library of dinosaur bones. You open a drawer and there's like literally 2 velociraptors in it.
That's amazing.
To be able to see that and explore that and see a lot of the fossils that they're really working on in the museum. Pieces that people were working on for years. It takes a lot of time to be able to chisel, chisel all these bones into something that resembles an actual dinosaur.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've done a lot of work myself. I wrote a journal article last year on it's a Rhaetian site, it's the Lake Triassic site in Vallis Vale, and I was looking at sort of Triassic sharks and fish, and sort of finding like fossilized coprolites and stuff. But I've also done work in museums in terms of sort of prep work. So I did some prep work at the Isle of Wight Museum, Dinosaur Isle Museum. And you go into the lab and they've just got these dinosaur fossils laid out, and it's like piecing a jigsaw puzzle together. And it's amazing. It really is. You just sort of see it laid out and you think, this creature was alive 200, 300 million years ago, and it's just amazing to see it. In terms of sort of Jurassic World, just going back to Jurassic World, just sort of thinking about sort of the sets really. Obviously, the Raptor Paddock set is a massive part of the film, and I just in terms of the size as well, it's pretty big.
Yeah, huge.
Were you actually there when they started construction on it, or when you started your role, was it already sort of pre-done and you just
they had already built all of the sets when I came in.
Right.
They started construction on the set 6 months before we started filming in Louisiana.
Wow.
So they started building sets in Hawaii before they started filming there. They went and shot in Hawaii, and even before they got to New Orleans, they had most of the sets built out by then. So they're massive construction projects. You can't call them set building on a film like that. These are huge engineering projects. Normally we have like an interior set for a film, and it's a bunch of studs and some sheetrock slapped together with some paint. They're very crude constructions that they kind of that they build pretty quickly. By using not even 2x4s. They might use 1x2s to make their walls. But the Jurassic World was different. They were constructing a park. They were constructing dinosaur containment, and they built these sets out of, I think the Raptor Paddock looked like it was built out of shipping containers. At least to me, that's what it looks like. And they were huge, They're stacked tall with staircases, and none of this is fake or a facade. Everything that you see, they built everything. The biggest construction, obviously, being the Main Street set, which was huge. They took over the Six Flags parking lot. They didn't use Six Flags at all, but they took it's the largest flat space in the region that you can get. And that set was one of the most insane things I've ever seen. I mean, it's you're stepping into Jurassic World. Like, it's there, I got to see that set when there was 1,000 people walking around. And so you have people in Jurassic World shirts walking around with, Pepsi cups and kids with backpacks. Just everything was thought out. Everything was commercialized in the perfect way. Like, a lot of times in films, you have a lot of marketing and product placement to help fund these films, and usually it's in poor taste, and you just kind of roll your eyes when you see it. In Jurassic World, it's done almost out of necessity, because if you want to make something real, Universal or Disney, everything is branded out, and that's exactly what you see in Jurassic World.
So would you say, like, based on the film production of Jurassic World, has that changed your perception in terms of filmmaking, in the sense of just how much effort and sort of care went in sort of the detail of, like, obviously Main Street and some of the other sets as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate to work on a lot of projects, both big and small. I was really thrown into the first one being Green Lantern, so I have had experience working on those massive, monumental budgets, like blockbuster budgets, that, like, to see them at work is really awe-inspiring. On Green Lantern, they had cranes on set just for blocking out the sun.
Yeah.
You'll have these massive, like, I don't even know how, maybe like 80 foot by 80 foot or possibly larger, just tarps that they would put above just to create a shadow. Like,
Yeah.
um,
It's crazy.
yeah. So the scale, I was already familiar with large scale filmmaking, as well as like the detail oriented filmmaking. I was fortunate to work um, very, very briefly on Django Unchained, just
All right.
as
Oh,
like
okay.
a stand-in for Christoph Waltz. Um, Tarantino hires actual actors to do his
Yeah.
stand-in work because they run through the scenes. So that was a really unique experience. Um, and so I was fortunate to see what that looks like in terms of a slow pace, do everything that you need to, filmmaking style. The level of meticulousness that Quentin Tarantino has is something that I have a great respect for. And to be able to see that in action is nuts. I mean, I was there the day that Leonardo DiCaprio sliced his hand open in a scene and
Right.
kept
Yeah.
rolling. That's nuts. Like
Yeah. It's
they
crazy.
like they waited, they made sure that they got everything that they needed to film before calling cut. And
Really?
like
Wow.
you hear the cut, and then it's just like standing ovation from the entire cast and crew.
Wow.
Like that's
Yeah.
nuts. And those are the type of organic things that happen in filmmaking. Those accidents that can create masterpieces, and those are the moments that are the most interesting as somebody working in the industry. Like those are why we do what we do, for the creativity, and not necessarily to slice someone's hand open, but like it's when things go wrong and end up creating something that nobody's ever seen before.
Yeah.
That level of master work from all of the artists, whether they're a sound designer, a Foley artist, a director, producer, set designer, actor. Like those are the things that make this industry unique to me. Is being able to see the height, like the paramount of craft in every single role coming together to make something for the audience.
Yeah, I mean, just like what you said there, just sort of jumping off that, I just wanted to sort of find out really, obviously, when Colin Trevorrow obviously took the role for Jurassic World, he had only sort of done one film really, and that was Safety Not Guaranteed.
Yeah.
And then jumping from that straight to, a blockbuster franchise is a big step. And I looking at how Colin handled the film, he handled it really well. And I was just sort of wondering, in terms of what his directional style is it very laid back? And
He puts a lot of faith in the people around him. He's a very collaborative director. He has a vision for the project, but you can have conversations with him. He's not like it has to be this way. Let's have a discussion and figure out what's the best way to do what we're trying to achieve. And that to me is wonderful. It was a very unique experience working with him. It didn't feel, you have one aspect of it where it felt like you're making this undeniably massive blockbuster. But working with Colin is like working on like an independent student project with friends.
yeah,
You figure things out, and you create together, and that's something that not every director does. And that was a very unique experience. But Colin is fantastic. I was really excited when they had announced that he was going to be doing Star Wars Episode 9. Things happen in the industry, and unfortunately that fell through. I would have liked to have seen what Colin could do in a Star Wars environment. I think a lot of what was interesting is that the Jurassic influence is certainly there in Star Wars recently. Bryce Dallas Howard doing an episode of The Mandalorian.
Mandalorian, yeah.
I like it's a unique episode when you watch it from the lens of Jurassic influence. If you just replace the ATST with a T-Rex,
Yeah.
and if you look at that the episode that she directed from the lens of Jurassic Park, it completely changes the experience, and that was really fun to watch.
Yeah. Just sort of going back to sort of the other actors that you spent time with, obviously, Chris Pratt and, MSI and Vincent D'Onofrio, these are all fantastic actors. It must have been quite strange sort of coming into this film, and obviously sort of you've got these scenes with these, really well-known actors who, are doing other projects as well. So Chris Pratt was already, quite big by then.
Honestly, while we were filming, Guardians hadn't come out.
Hadn't it?
No, it came out while we were filming, and it went from being like, "Oh, hey, Chris is in this this new sci-fi Marvel film. Let's go check it out," and it became the biggest movie of the year.
Yeah.
So it was very different. It came out in between some of my film, between like the daytime and the nighttime shots.
All right. Okay.
And between like Chris went while we were filming from like a guy who's going to be in a movie to like the biggest star in the world, and that happened while we were filming. But Chris, it doesn't change him one bit. He's just like honest, humble, funny, down to earth. The only way that I really know how to describe him is like from the moment you first meet him, it's like chatting with your best friend.
Yeah.
He's just wonderful to work with. He was recognizable for what he did on Parks and Rec, but after Guardians came out, it's a whole nother level of stardom, and it's very fortunate to know and have worked with him.
I was just wondering if there was any sort of funny stories like from set, anything that sort of stuck out where something had happened, or
what was really unique about working on that set is there was a laid back nature. Like we would just hang out. You have a lot of downtime on set, and it just felt like it was like sitting around a campfire. Everybody would they'd call turning around, where they have to move everything from where they're filming on one side. They have to take all the cameras, move them to the other side, move all the crew, just video village everything to the other side, and that can take an hour and a half. So it's like anytime you hear turn it around, it's like cigars got lit up all over set, and it just became like we'd all just sit and hang out.
Obviously, we know Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum are coming back in major roles for Jurassic World Dominion.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, I just wanted to know like what your thoughts are on not just them coming back, but also their place potentially in the film, sort of going forward, really.
Mm-hmm. I think anytime you have these characters come back for, especially decades later for a film, it's always wild to see, because they get to step back into these characters that they know so well and that they're known for so well. I think it'll be very exciting to see what they do with it. Jeff Goldblum, I think, obviously is very attached to the character that he plays.
Yes, yeah.
And I think we'll probably see plenty of memes come from whatever he ends up doing in this. But I think it'll be interesting to see what they bring to the table. We have, I personally at least have no idea what the scale of the roles are, what exactly they'll be doing. But I think it'll be interesting if we get to see the original cast, in action with the new characters. I'm super excited to see. Hopefully we'll have Laura Dern and Bryce Dallas Howard together. I think that'd be pretty cool if we get to see kind of the two heroines of Jurassic. together.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be cool to see potentially Chris Pratt and Sam Neill. So I'm super excited to see the events that unfold with both the new and the old cast. And I think a lot of people are really looking forward to that. If you had to ask the audience what it is that they want to see, I think that is exactly what the audience has been wanting. And I think that that's something that Colin Trevorrow does an excellent job of. He's fantastic at understanding fan bases and the audience. And that's one of the things that he did so well on Jurassic World is he was very respectful of the fan base. And that's something that I think a lot of studios might fail at. Uh,
Yeah.
is sometimes not understanding their audience and their fan base, and not being as respectful of the people that these projects, these intellectual properties mean so much to. And I think that Colin Trevorrow has done an excellent job respecting the fans and the vision that the fans have for the project.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I'm really excited for them coming back. It's quite funny, really, because I actually, before all the news came out about Sam Neill and Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum coming back, I actually met Sam Neill last year at Wales Comic Con before all COVID and everything. And I got a chance to chat to him and stuff. And obviously, at the time, we didn't know they were coming back. And as soon as the news was announced, I was utterly thrilled because I was like, we were actually going to see them back on the big screen together. And I think for the fans of the films, it not only means so much to us in the sense of that, they were a huge part of the films, but this is going to be the first time that they're back together, all three of them, since the first Jurassic Park. And I think that's, for Dominion, obviously we know it's setting up certain things. We know that certain characters are coming back, like Lewis Dodgson, and Biosyn's going to have a bit of a big presence. So I think for the fandom themselves, and for me, I think it means it's going to be basically like what Chris Pratt said on that Ellen sort of interview. It's going to be sort of our sort of end game, really, isn't it?
Yeah, with Colin, he's super respectful of a franchise. And I think it will be interesting to see such a large cast come together. It can be very difficult at times, juggling so many characters in a film. And I think that Colin will do an excellent job of making sure that we get to see all these characters in a way that we want to. And I have no idea what that will be, but I'm definitely impatient for it to release and to be able to finally see a movie back on the big screen.
Yeah, I mean, teasers that we've got out so far from Colin, they've teased some really interesting things. The fact that we're going to get a Lystrosaurus in the franchise, which is a Dicynodont, which is not a Mesozoic creature, and I think it's setting up a lot of things in terms of expanding the franchise into new areas in terms of sort of covering life's history. And I think that's really interesting for, going back to the original novels, the whole point of, Crichton with the themes looking at genetic engineering and that anything is basically possible. And I'm really happy that the franchise is starting to embrace more of what was in the original novels. Did you read the the original novels before you got the role in Jurassic World?
I didn't read them before I got the role, but after I did, I acquired the books. I wanted to consume every bit of Jurassic that I possibly could going into it. When I prepare for a project, I create a binder, and I just stuff it with any information that my character might have knowledge on, whether it's Jurassic World or playing Luke Skywalker. Going into that, I had this massive binder of just literature on dinosaurs for characters. And one of those was just consuming every bit of Jurassic Park that I could possibly get my hands on. I've got 2 copies of the Jurassic World books.
Right. Yeah.
It's the ones that actually say Jurassic World on it, where they combine Jurassic Park and The Lost World. Those were a little hard to get a hold of at the time, but I managed to. I definitely wanted to. I think it's interesting that the word Jurassic World, or words Jurassic World, came from Michael Crichton's work. And so that terminology of Jurassic World has been part of the franchise before it was ever even considered as a film. And so I think that that's something that not a lot of people know of, is that, Jurassic World as a title wasn't invented for the movies. It was something that was already a part of the franchise.
Yes, that's
and
right.
so I have
Yes.
2 copies of those. They're
All right.
just
Yeah.
gigantic.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I've just got the original, the original copies, but I've got the making of books of Jurassic Park and the Lost World Jurassic Park by Jodie Duncan, and those are really fantastic making of books. And as far as I'm aware, Colin said a while ago, he posted something on Instagram ages ago that there was an art book potentially coming out for Fallen Kingdom. And I think it might have some
cool.
unseen artwork as well from Jurassic World in there.
A lot that could have been expanded. They created something, a unique world, and I think the behind the scenes of like the underground dinosaur trade is something that you could really cover a lot of ground on. Obviously, more than just a 2-hour movie. And so it'd be pretty cool to see maybe a backstory to some of the characters that were introduced in that film.
Do you think that Universal should sort of? I know we've got Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous now, but do you think there's potential for a live action Netflix series, sort of looking at sort of maybe like a young John Hammond and Benjamin Lockwood, sort of creating the first dinosaur? I think there's aspects of the story that we haven't seen, and do you think it'd be good if Universal started to sort of invest more in that?
Yeah, one thing that I'm excited to see actually is what can be done in VR, because now we can expand a world that people can play in.
Yeah.
That you can not only see on a big screen, but it becomes more tangible, that you can walk around and explore. We've moved beyond traditional video games, and I think that Universal has been interested in exploring that. Particularly with some of the VR content that they're already making
I know.
Jurassic World. Yeah. I the other day I was looking at the new Jurassic World kind of experiences for the Oculus.
The Oculus, yeah.
And it's so wild. It's like this just full VR experience where you can you see these characters in a way that you never have. Like, it's the closest thing that I've had to actually working on the films themselves. Only this time the dinosaurs are not dancers in a gray leotard and a bicycle helmet. It's in front of you. It's real. And so that's something that I highly recommend any Jurassic fan or just fans of cinema in general check out. The new experiences that were created for Oculus are second to none, and they did a really fantastic job.
So obviously you've seen Camp Cretaceous. I just want to sort of know what your thoughts were really on the series and what you're looking forward to in season 2.
It's awesome. I think what they've done with Bumpy is really great. They've almost brought the Baby Yoda equivalent to the Jurassic World franchise, and that's been super fun to see, especially with Instagram. You can see a lot of the fan art that people make and little animations that people make. It's super cool. I spend a lot of time just scrolling through Instagram to just see what artists they're coming up with, what the fans really attach to, and they've really liked the new Camp Cretaceous that Netflix has put out, and the amount of fan art for Bumpy has just been a lot of fun to see. So right now Instagram has hashtags kind of blocked around the world um, due to the election in the United States. But hopefully they will open that up soon, because I'm really looking forward to seeing more of the fan art for Camp Cretaceous.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty crazy. I mean, I don't think anybody expected it to be as big as it has been. I mean, I know myself and a load of the other Jurassic fans that I know have been so excited about the fact that this series has been coming, because this is the first animated series we've had at all really since '93. There was a few that were in development and got cancelled that were based on Jurassic Park. So this is the first Jurassic animated series that everybody has gotten, and it's really taken off. And I'm so happy for everybody that it has, and it's been so well received.
Yeah.
What was your favorite sort of character out of the kids that are in the series?
Of the kids, oh god, I can't remember what's her name. The Instagram star.
Or Brooklyn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just like, having been around so much of that in like Los Angeles and at Coachella events and that like Instagram influencer, I appreciate that they're making fun of that type of culture and how like self-absorbed sometimes our culture can get, and they kind of take that and just show kind of like that downsides, and like, but also how like the people who do this for a living, and they're real people too. So
Yeah.
I think they took something that's very prevalent in modern culture, they created a character based upon it, and then they showed kind of the pitfalls of the industry.
Yeah, because I noticed obviously you've done a lot of DJing, haven't you? And you've
Yeah.
worked with Paul Oakenfold, who's really well known. I just actually wanted to ask, sort of like, what's that lifestyle sort of been like, sort of getting involved in that?
Completely different. Fortunately, through my film work, it's a lot easier to carry into the music industry. People are significantly more welcoming to somebody who's established in the film industry walking into music. So I've been provided opportunities through my film work that I never would have had without my involvement in Jurassic World and Star Wars franchise. So I've been super fortunate to be able to have that involvement and be able to carry it into a different industry. Maybe some of it maybe undeservedly, but it's made my life a lot easier to be able to do a lot of the things that I've wanted to do, to be able to have that success in one industry being recognized by artists in another.
Yeah.
So I've been able to travel and go to a lot of different events and play a lot of different shows. As you referenced, the thing with Paul Oakenfold, that was a lot of fun. We both headlined an event. If you remember the Storm Area 51
All right. Yeah.
thing that blew up on Facebook,
Yeah.
that turned into a couple of music festivals in the Las Vegas area in Nevada. One of which was the Storm Area 51 Base Camp, which Paul Oakenfold and I headlined that show.
That's really cool.
That was
Yeah.
just a real surprise to be able to spend a little bit of time with him and to play that show. That was a lot of fun. And the other one was Alien Stock, which was kind of like the big one that got popularized in the media. That was an interesting experience. We didn't know what to expect going into it. We assumed there was going to be a lot more people. There was fallout with the people who created the Storm Area 51 They Can't Stop Us All Facebook page that had millions and millions of hits. The people behind that page kind of fell out, and they accepted a deal in like downtown and backed away from the one that was in the desert, and that was a whole ordeal that most people assumed that the events that were happening in the desert were actually canceled. They weren't. So a lot of people didn't show up simply because they thought it was canceled. When I announced like my shows that I was playing at those events, people were like, "That's still going on?" I thought that was all canceled, and it wasn't. And we still had a decent group. I think about 5,000 people who came out to the Alien Stock event itself. my show was significantly later at night. I closed out Sunday, on the 21st, I believe. So I closed out Alien Stock actually. That's kind of cool. It was a lot of fun. It was a really amazing event, and I met a lot of friends there, such as the artist Daddy, DDY. He and I are working really closely on a lot of projects. We've done some of the quarantined virtual festivals.
Right. Yeah.
We did one a while back for Scarlet 64 on Twitch. Everybody came together and raised $10,000 for pancreatic cancer research
That's really good.
from that festival.
Yeah.
That's incredible, and to be able to, just have what we do with music, be able to have that kind of an impact on people's lives it's different. It's not just like making money off a couple shows or whatever. It's bigger than anything that we do. So that's really cool, and I worked really hard on that. My grandfather had passed away, or like right while I was working on my DJ set for that event.
Right.
And it really, that happening completely changed my whole outlook on the set, and so I just went in a completely different direction, and I used genres that I don't use too often, and I'm super proud of what I created for that. It's all recorded. My Will Cook, who does almost all of my videography work and photography, he did an excellent job at running multiple cameras to be able to shoot that. We filmed that at House of Stereo in Jacksonville, Florida, which is like one of the premier audiophile stores, and we had the best audio setup you could possibly come up with.
That's great. Yeah.
Just like TNA amps and everything. It was really impressive to be able to have that set up and be able to play on a system like that for a cause that is as important as Pank One. And I'm just super proud of what everybody came together to create for that event. That can be found on YouTube. We had a great number of that was on the front page of Twitch, so we had a lot of followers like when we premiered it on Twitch, and I uploaded it thereafter, but so that way if like somebody happens to know about it, they can at least go back and find my DJ set. It's in 4K on YouTube. Like we went completely uncompromising and just made something that was exactly the vision that I set out to make for that DJ set, and everything came together perfectly. So that set means a lot to me. It was incredible, and people can go back and look at all these sets. Most of them you can either find at like the Virtual Base Twitch channel, go through and find the recap. I just put mine up on YouTube. I haven't really publicized it much that I put it up there, but it's there for people who know about it and want to go see it, so that way they can go. And everything was super on point. Just like 40 or so of like my personal friends, people that like I talk to all the time and on Discord. And I've done 3 virtual DJ sets since the pandemic really hit. The first one I did was in Second Life, and that was a part of like the Woodbury group. It was kind of like their 10-year anniversary. And that was a really fun event by an amazing community that started in Second Life and has since expanded into like VR chat and other worlds that has really impacted a lot of people. So it's cool to do that event for them. I brought in a lot of friends for that. We brought a lot of real artists into Second Life, and we made virtual avatars and replications for everybody. Like
really, right?
It was a lot of work. It was like just 2 weeks of like me and some friends and some of my team doing visuals and creating avatars for people and really setting it up to be the best that we possibly could, and contingencies because we knew that we were going to get crashed and have to deal with hackers and all kinds of trolls. And of course we did. We had a sim counter when we did the live video, and I think we got it up to like the sim got attacked. Like we got DDoSed like 8 times.
Really? Wow.
Day. Yeah. So the servers went down. So much so to where after like the next 24 hours, Linden Lab, the creators of Second Life, were having some server issues, possibly because people were trying to crash our sim so much. But like the group behind it is like known for being kind of trolls of the internet,
Right,
very
yeah.
very much like internet culture. So we knew what to expect. We knew what we were getting into, and it's almost like fun to see like the organic nature of the internet just crashing down upon you. So
Yeah.
we weren't super like anytime the sim would go down or we'd have to relocate to a backup location. There's nothing disappointing about it. We anticipated all of it, all the chaos, everything. Props to all the artists, like the real artists that have no idea about like any of that world, the
Yeah,
internet
yeah.
culture behind it and everything, just completely going with it and like
Just getting on with it.
being, yeah, our schedules were completely decimated because it would take us 20 minutes to get back up after a crash and it'd be halfway through a set of one of the artists. It was really neat though. We got to bring, of course, the real life artists, but I also had not just like your club DJs. I brought one of my buddies, Buckley, who runs Coast to Coast Records. He brought, and he did an entire vinyl DJ set. So we recreated his turntable setup. We brought in like we built the virtual mixers and virtual vinyl turntables for him. He has a lot of sponsorship with Audio Technica, so we made sure that he had his table and was like represented by Audio Technica and everything. So to be able to take like what he was used to doing before the pandemic and replicate everything virtually, Daddy, he came out during my set and did a special. I had him as a special guest for a back-to-back portion, and so we built. He likes to DJ. He's like the dad of the internet is kind of his branding, and so a lot of times he'll DJ with a big like Weber grill, and he has his like mixer and laptop behind the actual grill.
Right, yeah.
With like spatulas and everything. So we built his avatar to a T. And then we built his grill with the DJ mixer and laptop like inside of it as well. So it was a lot of fun to be able to create this. We also had a couple of my buddy Griffin Raphael. He did a DJ set for that event, and he brought out Young Boy XOXO and Baby Goth.
Right.
So we built Young Boy and built Baby Goth so that like we had all of Baby Goth's face tattoos, hand tattoos. One of my buddy David did a tremendous job replicating her look, and to have that kind of support and that team to be able to put these things together, most of which last minute, under the gun, not enough time. And to be able to get something, I'm not going to say goes off without a hitch because we got crashed enough times to where when we were doing the streaming, David decided to put on a crash counter because we just kept like getting the server DDoS attacked basically. But that was funny. It was great, and we're just doing what we can.
Yeah, it's really great
to bring these experiences to the internet.
Yeah, it's really great. Just going back to sort of Camp Cretaceous, just something I just thought of was, what was your thoughts when you saw, the episode when the kids actually go into the raptor paddock, and it's kind of like a bit of it's a similar scene to what you
paralleled
were in
a lot of my scene, and I thought that was really funny. Like I like the idea that people falling into the raptor paddock is like clearly a reoccurring type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hinted at, like something is always happening to the raptor handlers, like the line, why'd you think there's a job opening?
Yeah.
It is because of clearly something happened to the last guy. And I wonder if we'll ever even see what happened to the last guy. That I think will be funny.
Yeah, that would be. Something I wanted to ask you actually was, like, how many times did you have to like say the line "pig loose"?
I honestly have zero memories of that. That might have been ADR or something. I really don't remember so much that because especially like when you're working, you just you don't forget. You kind of have brain fog of actually doing work.
Mm.
For me, it's like when I'm in a character, I almost have not a complete memory of what I just did. Like I can go through, I can do a take and not really remember sometimes what it was that I did. I have no problem remembering what other characters are doing in the scene,
Mm.
but like what I do is almost like you kind of go into a different mindset. You just envelop the character and you go with it, and then you're cut and you step away from the character. It's very strange to me. Acting is a different experience.
I must, yeah. I
Um,
mean, it must have been obviously when you're doing that scene as well. I know because having seen the special features, the people were wearing like the raptor sort of heads, and obviously they put the raptors in obviously in post production with
mhm.
ILM. Was that a
Yeah.
bit sort of strange, just sort of having like people just sort of there like
No,
crowding around you,
not at
or
all. That was very, very helpful because usually when it comes to CGI, you have nothing to work with.
yeah, mm,
Nothing. I remember I did, some CG. I haven't done too many scenes that really call for CGI. I've mostly done like horror films and comedies and things like that. So there's not a whole lot that I've done that's really been CGI intensive. But usually when it's CGI stuff, you're acting empty space.
yeah,
You're just looking at blue,
mm,
like and not the raptor blue, the color blue.
yeah,
Um, so it was very helpful to be able to have the dancers that production hired to play the Raptors. Obviously they're in their gray leotards. They've got but basically it's a bicycle helmet with the raptor head on there. But the dancers that they hired, um, you God, I'm trying to remember their names. Jimmy. Oh man, I'm sorry. The names of the guys who played the Raptors is not coming entirely off the top of my head, but they were unbelievable guys to be around. They played the Raptors to a T. It was funny to watch, but when we're doing the scenes, I was so grateful to have them because you
mm,
have your eye lines. You have something to work with. You know where things are happening. You don't have to make it up in your head. It's there. It's in front of you. You have the visual, and
yeah,
that's unusual. Usually you're looking at, if you're lucky, a tennis ball.
mm,
Like that's kind of general for, even though a lot of movies have these massive budgets, usually it's a tennis ball and a stick, and that's what you get for
yeah.
your eye line for a CGI
Mm.
character. And
You just have to
to,
imagine it. Yeah,
yeah, and obviously imagination is very much a part of the job, but everything that you can along the way to help makes makes the experience more real to you personally, puts you more in the moment, and it gives the audience a better product, a
mm,
better film at the end of the day. So to the producers and directors that decide to do these unique ways of giving us something to work with, I think it's important, and I wish that more would do it.
yeah, yeah. Something else that I wanted to ask you as well was like, what point did you see the final cut of the film? Did Colin like sit everyone down to like watch the
There
film
there
beforehand before it
were
went to the premiere?
there were previewings in Los Angeles.
Right.
I wasn't there at the time. So the first time I saw it was the premiere.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, they had showings like as they were working on it. There were even a couple in New Orleans. I think when Chris was filming, Chris and Vincent were filming Magnificent Seven, maybe,
all right.
I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Mm,
Yeah, and so they were back in New Orleans at that time filming that. And I know that I had caught wind of that they were doing some of the showings there. I could have caught a plane and go over to New Orleans, but uh, it was like a couple of weeks before the actual premiere.
mm,
Um, so the first time I saw it was at the world premiere at the Adobe Theater in Los Angeles. The second time I saw it was the following day in Bozeman, Montana, after an event at the Museum of the Rockies with Jack Horner.
right. Yeah.
Um, I passed out in that theater uh,
Really.
because I was so tired. That
Yeah.
was like the only time. that I had in like the past 48 hours where I could sit down and sleep because I had the day of the premiere in Los Angeles. Wake up, I've got hair and makeup going to my hotel room to, you know, get me and the person that I brought to the premiere like perfect to a T. Shout out to Nikki for being an unbelievable hair and makeup stylist. She made us look perfect. And we did the premiere. We had the after party. I think I managed to eat like a couple snacks at the after party, and that was my dinner for the night.
Right.
We left the after party at about 3:30 or 4 in the morning, went back to the hotel, quickly packed up everything, went to the airport, hopped on a plane, went to Bozeman, Montana, was at the Museum of the Rockies all day, had the showing at the theater, like it was nonstop.
So yeah, your schedule was stacked then, wasn't it?
Mhm.
It was really full on.
And that one went really late. I think I got maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep when I got back to my hotel in Bozeman after that event. But then it was immediately, like after a couple hours of sleep, back to the airport, went to Rhode Island, was at the IMAX in Rhode Island, which is where I'm originally from. So I went to they have a full size, like reel to reel, like IMAX cinema there. And that was really cool to watch as well. To go to where I'm from and to be able to show the film to my hometown was really cool. So that was the kind of like the pre-viewing where it releases like the night before.
Right.
So that was the first showing. We did the first showing in Rhode Island there at the IMAX, and so I got to introduce the film and talk to a lot of just like reporters and like local and regional news in the area. That's just cool to be able to be there with my family, and so my family's from Rhode Island, and so had lunch at my Nana's house with a lot of her friends and her family, and then we all went to go to the first showing at the IMAX in Providence. So that was a treat. I did not sleep through that one. Next morning, woke up, flew to Orlando. I was in Rhode Island for, I want to say, less than 18 hours. I was in Montana and Rhode Island for less than 18 hours each. Went to Orlando, and then I was with Peter Mayhew, the late actor who played Chewbacca.
Played Chewie, yeah.
Yeah, I was with them, him, his wife Angie, and the extended family and friends at Star Wars weekends.
Oh, right.
At
Okay,
Disney.
yeah.
And so that was like, I got to unwind and relax and actually sleep and just have a good time and eat food and watch fireworks. And I'm really grateful to be able to have that experience, especially being able to spend that time with Peter, who's one of the nicest, like most humble people I've ever met. Wonderful human being. So to be able to relax and unwind, and of course me and his wife Angie, we were just like watching the numbers as it was the largest opening weekend of all time by quite a long shot.
Yeah.
So we were just like thrilled watching the numbers, watching all the reviews, seeing all the positive feedback, the excitement from the fans. Like that was super cool to be able to have all that experience at once.
Yeah, and to be a major part of it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course, we're watching the numbers. It became the largest opening weekend of all time. And of course, like Andrew's like, okay, cool, have fun, because come December, Star Wars is going to absolutely wreck all of these records.
Yeah.
And it did. It didn't last long. We had 6 months where it was a good run, and then The Force Awakens just swept all of our records under the rug.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, the whole box office thing, because it was a while ago now, it's a few months ago, but there was an article, there was articles that came out about the fact that Jurassic is actually, I think, the highest grossing franchise, or at least the most popular grossing franchise. I think for the most part, every single film is making about $1 billion now. So I think it is sort of the
It's
most productive
crazy. Yeah.
franchise out of all of them, compared to
hmm
like Marvel and Star Wars and Fast and Furious and all those other ones.
For me, obviously, I'm very fortunate to be able to be a part of these franchises, but to be able to, growing up, kind of the two biggest franchises, it's Jurassic Park and Star Wars.
Yeah,
Just personally, as a fan of both of them, to be able to have a hand, however small, in each of them has
in
been
each of them.
incredible. And
Yeah.
just you just try and give that all back to the fans, you know. Just do the best you can to give them I hate to say product, because the truth is these films that we make, these games that we make, these stories, the books, everything is much more important to people than simply a product.
Yeah.
And so that's the way that I try to look at it, and I try to give it my very best, and not what I want, not necessarily even what the director and producers. It's everything that they want is obviously very important to me, but to all of us, the most important thing is the fans, because they're the ones that it really means the most to. I mean, when you look in what the 501st organization does in the Star Wars community, people all around the world coming together for unbelievable charity causes, visiting hospitals, um, giving back to the community, fundraising when people are in need, and just coming together in one massive family. To be able to see that firsthand, to be a part of it, that's the most inspiring thing. And I've said this a lot of times, but I truly mean it.
Something I wanted to ask you as well, just in terms of sort of Jurassic World Dominion. Are there any particular dinosaurs that you'd love to see that we haven't seen yet? Sort
I
of
mean,
forward?
we've seen my favorite, it's a baby T-Rex, and I was thrilled to be able to see that in Jurassic World. So I've already seen what I want to see, so I'm good.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to find out really. No,
Yeah, no,
for me, yeah.
it's super fun. I love all of them. The most it's not so much what dinosaurs I want to see. What I like to see is just the inspiration that the artists create, whether it's the terrifying raptors and T-Rex to uh, obviously when we first see the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, you know, we have the now entirely memed sunglasses being taken
Yes, we
off.
do. Yeah.
Like, but that moment, those are what we live for as artists, is to be able to create those jaw-dropping, awe-inspiring feats of imagination, bringing it to life. That's cool to me. That's what I like to
Yeah.
see.
See, as like a student paleontologist, obviously a lot of my like thesis is on hadrosaurs, and some looking at their lower jaw. So, and for me, like looking at the Jurassic franchise, when you look at the dinosaurs that have been depicted, hadrosaurs have been depicted really well, but
hmm
we've only seen like two species of them. You know, the Parasaurolophus and the Cretaceous in the films, and we know that Edmontosaurus is in Jurassic World because it's on the Jurassic World website, and that's one dinosaur I'd like to see, hopefully in Dominion. Whether Colin decides to put it in, I'm not sure. But I think overall, I think because I find it strange that out of all the dinosaurs that have been in throughout the series, the hadrosaurs have been the ones that have been at least in, but
mm
they're the most diversified dinosaurs we know of, really, because there's so many
Yeah.
species and individuals that we know of. I mean, like you, I'm so excited for Dominion and for what Colin is doing with the franchise, and it's something I want to sort of ask, because Colin is now he was obviously involved in Fallen Kingdom. Obviously, he didn't direct it,
hmm
but do you think Colin's gonna leave the franchise after this film, or do you think he's gonna be still involved in some way?
I don't know. I don't know what the future looks like for what their plans going forward might be. Uh, I've just been happy to watch it grow and happy to be a part of it, and thrilled to see Colin returning to direct the third Jurassic World film. They work with him on the first one to see his capabilities, what he brings to the table, the level of collaboration, his direction as a director. Directing is a lot of things, but one of the things that almost gets left out a lot of times is actually directing actors. And he doesn't leave that on the table. Like, that is something he's very talented at, is being able to understand the human nature of acting, to be able to, he can create these characters. He sees what his vision is in certain people, and then he knows how to bring that vision out of the actor. And that's something that you don't get to experience very often as much as you would like as an actor. So I'm curious to see what he can do with the original cast, what Colin does in drawing out the original characters out of the original cast. That I'm super interested to see how that's going to turn out.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see with those characters really, and what the film's going to hold for everybody. I just want to say a massive thank you, Colby, for joining me and for taking part in this interview.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's been really great. I've really enjoyed talking to you. It's been so great to talk to someone who's actually been in Jurassic World, and so I just want to say a big thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's for me, it's so much fun. Like everybody has a different perspective. Jurassic World, Jurassic Park, it means something different to everybody, and people have careers because of their interests that might have been started by a movie. And I know Star Wars definitely had a helping hand in what I do today. So I know what it's like to be able to have that inspiration, to carry it forward, to follow and the path that you want to lead, and to be able to talk to so many people who are impacted in the same way is really fascinating.
And as passionate as well about it all. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you have a wealth of knowledge of paleontology. Most of these dinosaur names are Greek to me, and
Yeah.
I did my best trying to learn them going into the movie. I think I had mentioned previously, like how I just have binders. When I work on a project, I create a binder of backstory, of information that the character might have, as much as I possibly can, even if it never becomes used. I try to learn everything that I can, whether it's Star Wars Battlefront, where I just had references of every character, all the sword choreography styles, the canon backstories to various sword styles, whether they were just kind of made on the fly by Nick Gillard or from the books, trying to incorporate as much as I can of what is canon to the fans into something that new that we're creating. Jurassic Park, where I had just a binder full of dinosaurs that I knew were in the film or could potentially be in the film. I learned about them, about the way that they moved, their heights, where my eye lines might be, like the strangest thing. And I just try to consume as much knowledge as I might need to be able to play these characters, no matter how insignificant that those details are, and to be able to meet people that have that same passion for what it is that they do. That's inspiring to me. So thank you for having me and for sharing your passion with the world.
Oh no! It's a pleasure. Where can everyone find you online, Colby? If you want
Yeah,
just share.
you can find me Twitter and Instagram at Colby Boothman. Pretty easy to find there. Any of my DJ sets that anybody wants to watch, you can just search Colby Boothman on YouTube, and there'll be a couple videos that I haven't even really posted about, and I should probably publicize them a bit more, but I don't know. I put them up there for people that want to find them. It's not something I do for publicity or advertisement or anything. I do them, and if people find out about them, great, and if not, cool. So if you want to see my DJ stuff, that stuff is on YouTube. I only have a couple recent DJ sets up on there at the moment. I've put some up on SoundCloud in the past. Again, just they're not things that I advertise. Some from like DJ sets at comic conventions or Alien Stock. Those are all online for anyone who wants to listen to them. If you don't like dubstep, I apologize. If you don't like trap music, I apologize, because it's a lot of heavy dubstep, heavy trap music, and then I also have a lot of future bass, very melodic music. It's fun to be able to mash different genres. So for people who like music, and if you want to check out my music, I would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out. So yeah, if you haven't already, please check out Colby's set.
So yeah, big thank you to Colby for coming on and chatting with me about Jurassic World and paleontology and dinosaurs and everything that he's up to. If you'd like to give this video a like and subscribe, that'd be great. You can follow me on Jurassic James 1 on Twitter, and you can also check out all the podcast stuff that I'm doing and my journal article and everything at my Linktree link, which I will put at the bottom of this video. Thanks for enjoying, everyone, and look forward to seeing you all soon.